The Eternal Daughter, directed by Joanna Hogg, and All of Us Strangers, directed by Andrew Haigh, are two hauntingly beautiful films that explore grief. Spoilers ahead! In both of these films, we follow a main character who is a screenplay writer and dealing with the loss of a parent or both parents and the grief that comes with it. In The Eternal Daughter, we see Tilda Swinton play Julie Hart and Rosalind Hart, a mother-daughter duo. The film starts out with them arriving at a hotel, which used to be a home, one that was in the family and that Rosalind, the mother, would visit as a child.
Are we the only people staying here? Have you worked that out yet?
The hotel looks pretty abandoned aside from two employees, one woman who works at the front desk as well as a server for the dining services, and a man who works there who we see bond with both of the women. This double casting for Swinton is not all that unique to the genre of horror or hauntings, which often contain doubles to serve as a mode of reflection for not only the main character, but society itself, like in Jordan Peele's Us. But this film isn't a horror. It's not bloody or filled with fighting to survive. I mean, the death has already occurred. The relationship between Rosalind and Julie appears to be a non-toxic, typical mother-daughter dynamic. There is certainly some tensions, mistakes are made, like when Julie realizes the tragedies of her mother's past associated with this mansion. But there is also a wealth of unsaid love between these two. Julie overhears her mother telling one of the hotel employees that even though her daughter has no children, she is still a mother to her art. This perception recasts mothering as a condition to which creative artists and people might aspire. Through its narrative repetition and its casting of Swinton in her double role, the film also portrays the ambivalence and poignancy, the mothering of mothers, the mothering of oneself, and the mothering of one's art. Julie is visibly moved by Rosalind's implication that she regards Julie's creative process as a form of alternative mothering, in which procreation is not the only important form of continuity. By decoupling the concept of mothering from a stifling definition of literal child rearing, Hogg raises questions about internalized natalist demands on women artists from society, and about what is really natural. This is something Julie needed to hear as she is drowning in her self-inflicted need for a new screenplay about her mother. And as any artist, she is experiencing creative block with a dash of perfectionism. She is still valid as a woman, an adult, a person. Being validated by our parents, our guardians, our teachers is one of the strongest human desires, as it is often a final step towards accepting oneself. And this is something we see in All of Us Strangers. In All of Us Strangers, Andrew Scott plays Adam, who is also a screenplay writer struggling to write about his parents who died when he was a kid. He's living in an almost entirely vacant apartment building, which is practically a skyscraper, and starts up a relationship with one of the only other residents in the building. This neighborly romance is with Harry, played by Paul Mescal. At the same time, Adam continues to revisit his childhood home, the last place he saw his parents. He has found the ghosts of his parents are there, frozen in the time of when they passed, and Adam was just a child at that time. He gushes over getting to see them again, telling them about his ventures in life, his career, and he eventually comes out to them. With hesitation and difficult emotional conversations, his parents eventually accept their Adam for who he is. But his parents accept him when they're dead? Isn't that just Adam making scenarios up in his head to cope? Or is it just a haunting story that contains the eerie as described by Mark Fisher? The Eerie is constituted by a failure of absence or by a failure of presence. The sensation of the Eerie occurs either when there is something present when there should be nothing, or is there nothing present when there should be something. I'd say the presence of Rosalind in The Eternal Daughter is something present when there should be nothing. The mother is passed, she was elderly. A sad truth of growing older is that we have to say goodbye to our parents. Whereas the presence of Adam's parents in All of Us Strangers is nothing present when there should be something. Adam lost his parents at a very young age. He missed out on being raised by them and watching them grow old, just as they missed watching their son grow up. They should be there, alive and well, but all they can appear as is as ghosts, figments of the past. The Eerie concerns the most fundamental metaphysical questions one could pose, questions to do with existence and non-existence. Why is there something here when there should be nothing? Why is there nothing here when there should be something? This gives us, the audience, an immense emotional roller coaster as we toil with the fact that we will experience losing our parents, our guardians at some point, or perhaps already have. The act of Adam coming out as gay to his dead parents makes up for the fact he never got to do so while they were alive. And yet, if they don't accept him, it is just as heartbreaking as if they were in fact still alive. This is what makes All of Us Strangers stand out. The parents being frozen to the time of their death allows them to be more reflective of their negative behaviors and how they impacted their son. As they are closer in time to the events than Adam is, this also means they are literally stuck in their ways, and their ways being that of the old days. Homophobia is still rampant today, and it was the norm when Adam was a child. So his parents have more trouble accepting it than they may have if they'd never died and seen it become more normalized over time and had therefore become more educated on it. Provisionally, then, we can distinguish two directions in hauntology. The first refers to that which is, in actuality, is no longer, but which is still effective as a virtuality, the traumatic compulsion to repeat, a structure that repeats, a fatal pattern. Adam continues to go back to his childhood home to see his parents' ghosts, and so much so that they have to encourage him to let go. Revisiting the past isn't healthy. It keeps us stuck, and Adam's parents don't want that for their son. Adam has to find the strength as an adult to let them go, something he couldn't possibly mentally have been capable of as a child. Adam must not only say goodbye to his parents, he has to say goodbye to his childhood home once again. Haunting can be seen as intrinsically resistant to the contraction and homogenization of time and space. It happens when a place is stained by time, or when a particular place becomes the site for an encounter with broken time. This quote from Mark Fisher perfectly encapsulates the energy we see in All of Us Strangers. Revisiting a place stained by time, and time not passing for the ghosts, therefore they are in a broken time. It is just a big empty mansion with strange sounds at night and empty lands surrounding it, isolating it from society. Julie takes her mother's dog on long walks around the grounds. Surrounded by fog and greenery, she continues these walks, which are some of the only times that we see her without her mother, making these moments the only time we see her experiencing the loneliness which is her reality. At times we see Julie catch her own reflection, and while the reflection is in fact Rosalind, it poses as something comfortable rather than off-putting, because Swinton plays both the characters. So the duality of it allows us to see that she is starting to not only see herself, but also see her mother for who she was. The Eternal Daughters, Rosalind and Julie, challenge conventional gender dynamics in a different and more complex way by adding alternative mothering and daughtering in an expanded and more radically positive sense of feeling lovingly haunted back into the equation. The film isn't inherently scary, it's heartbreakingly sad, just as All of Us Strangers is. These movies don't try and trick the audience into jump scares and throw twists at every corner. They hover and witness the grief and love that is parent-child relationships, just as a ghost might float by and watch.